They're looking for new small businesses in the same watering holes. And so that's why I said, look, give me a chance, come to Miami, meet my people, right, and see what we have to offer. And so the people on stage decided to take me up on that offer.
We did about 6 initiatives, engagement events around the country. We were able to bring in 28 new businesses, first time gaining a contract from the Department of Energy. Across those 28 businesses, $20+ million.
There were 3 things that really changed the landscape for the federal government. You had Executive Order 13985, you had the OMB memo, and then each of the federal agencies had to provide an equity plan on how they were going to increase. What that meant was we went from a 5% goal for SDBs to over, I think it's this year's 13%, and by 2025 it'll be 15%. What that means is that's billions plus that has to go to small businesses that's federally mandated across the federal government.
They're looking for new small businesses in the same watering holes. And so that's why I said, look, give me a chance, come to Miami, meet my people, right, and see what we have to offer. And so the people on stage decided to take me up on that offer. So I appreciate them. In fact, let's start off with Ms. Amelia Moore, Small Business Innovation Research, SBIR, Small Business Technology Transfer, Outreach Coordinator for Naval Sea System Command, NAVSEA, SBIR, STTR Program Office. Ms. Moore has over 3 years of experience in government industry outreach with a background in communications, acquisitions, contracting, and commercialization of federally funded investments. And by the way, when did we meet?
Last month or so?
Yeah, last month.
Yeah.
Okay, and she's on stage in front of you today.
Yeah,
so I just want to say that. Leilani Rivera is the current acting Small Business Program Manager for the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA. She's been with FAA Small Business Office since 2015 and is responsible for providing assistance to small business in obtaining procurement opportunities with the FAA. Prior to her current position, Leilani was a Level 2 contracting officer for FAA for 8 years. She served 17 years as federal service and earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Speech and Hearing Sciences from University of Washington. Leilani, now, when did we meet?
At the Navy conference in July.
In July, and she's sitting on stage.
I saw you in Hawaii, but you were too busy talking to people, so.
Okay, that's what I do. I didn't tell you guys this, but they call me the fun man of Govcon, so that's what I do, okay? At least y'all know, she's telling on me up here. Ron Pierce, Director of Office Small and Disadvantaged Business, Ostabu, previously he led efforts to address issues on environmental and climate change for several small businesses and military veteran lawmakers as a consultant. He spent 5 years as Senior Director of PBS Veterans and Small Business Initiatives on the Station Services team. A combat veteran, Ron spent 11 years as a U.S. Army officer. He earned his Bachelor's in Science and Behavioral Human Services from the U.S. Military Academy at West Point and holds a Master of International Affairs from the Naval Postgraduate School of Monterey, California. And so, I've seen Ron. I bumped into Ron, I don't even know where we first met, but I keep bumping into events, and so I appreciate his generosity in coming here. Mr. Shannon Jackson was appointed as Director of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization, OSTABU, in November 2021. He's responsible for implementing the department's small business procurement programs across the HHS portfolio, valued at $9.4 billion in procurements. Mr. Jackson has served 29 years in the federal government and has held various leadership positions throughout his career, to include his military service, retiring at the rank of Lieutenant Colonel in the U.S. Army. Mr. Jackson led a network of 700 full and part-time small business professionals across the DoD. He holds both Defense Acquisition Workforce Improvement Act, Program Manager Level 3, and Level 2 contracting certifications, along with several executive-level training courses and leadership, including certifications from the University of Chicago and MIT. He holds his undergraduate degree in history from Virginia State University, a master's degree in business administration from Nichols College, and a master's degree in procurement and acquisition from Webster University. See, so as you can see, even the SBA wants to give her card to them. So that's all right. That's all right. So, you know, I really but outside of the introductions, I'm going to let them have it at it. So, Mr. Ron Pierce, I'm going to let you start first and talk about your office and the great things that you're doing there.
Thank you. Morning. And it's great to be here. Good morning. Uh, call and repeat. First of all, I just want to say to all of the speakers that preceded me, I co-sign ditto, ditto, ditto to my colleague and a daily inspiration, Shalaya Morissette, what you said and what you challenged this audience to do is so important, and I just really want to, again, echo your comments. So I'm the director of the OSDBU, the hardest acronym to say in the Department of Energy, Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. And as a former Army officer, I'm gonna follow the KISS principle. I'm gonna keep it simple, stupid, and I'm gonna put it up front, say it again in the middle, and say it again at the end. So as you have heard, network, network, network while you're here. Look to partner. It's very important. Look to partner. As Shalaya said, there is billions of dollars of opportunities at DOE and within this room. What we do in my office, I have no contracting or procurement authority, but what I do is help you navigate the big, giant, bureaucratic, difficult organism of the Department of Energy and the federal government. I make connections. I help make connections to opportunities within the office, within the Department of Energy's agency, and at our 17 national labs, where 80% of our procurement dollars are spent. Even though I have no contracting or procurement authority, making those connections, putting you in front of the right people, helping you sell yourself and bring a solution to the table for the Department of Energy is what we do. Little Attaboy started an initiative last year to, hey, follow the money. It's at the national labs. Bring qualified small businesses to the national labs who tell me, hey, I can't find qualified minority businesses. Oh, stop. I can help you. I can't find qualified women-owned businesses to do this. Stop. I can't find veteran-owned, service-disabled veterans to do this business. No, we're going to put them together and introduce them to that small business team at each of the national labs, and procurement team at each of the national labs, so they can touch, feel, delve deeper into the opportunities there and potentially win. What we were able to do last year, small metric that we challenged ourselves was to bring in new entrants, introduce them to the labs. We did about 6 initiatives, engagement events around the country. We were able to bring in 28 new businesses, very first time gaining a contract from the Department of Energy. Across those 28 businesses, $20+ million. Just a small metric of how we're connecting small businesses with the national labs and opportunities. Last thing I'll say, and pass it on to Shannon, made a commitment last year that my office, along with the rest of the agency, we would do $1 billion, with a B, new dollars of contracts to small businesses. We exceeded that goal. We did $1.1 billion, making those connections. And we brought in over 900 new, first-time, like you, businesses that have never received a contract with a federal agency, 900 last year. It's a small forward step, but that's the challenge that I have to myself and my team and to the program offices within the agency, that we can do more and do better. and we're continuing those initiatives. So I apologize for being somewhat long-winded.
No worries.
Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Ron. I appreciate it. I didn't know you was in the military. That was good. Wow. It's always great to come to Miami. Anybody wants to come to Miami, I raise my hand all the time. Every time this trip come up, I'm coming. I enjoy it. And first and foremost, thank you for inviting me today, and thank you for inviting the Department of Health and Human Services. Got some great things to say today. One of the things we went in, I've been in HHS for about almost 2 years now. Came from the Department of Defense, where I was the acting director for the DOD. In my transition, there were 3 things we wanted to do when we came to the Department of Health and Human Services. Grow, I call it GPS. So if somebody knows what GPS stands for, you get a one-on-one with me, and then I give you that 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then we send you off and you go after and get some opportunities within inside of the department. So I'm not going to give you the GPS, but I will talk about it. Well, I'll give you the answer anyway. So really it was 3 things. It was growth, and growth meant that we wanted to grow the industrial base. So just as the previous speakers talked about is education and learning about what's going on in the public sector, there were 3 things that really changed the landscape for the federal government. You had Executive Order 13985, you had the OMB memo, and then each of the federal agencies had to provide an equity plan on how they were going to increase. What that meant was we went from a 5% goal for SDBs to over, I think it's this year's 13%, and by 2025 it'll be 15%. What that means is that's billions plus that has to go to small businesses, that's federally mandated across the federal government. So we, as all of the federal agencies, had to come up with a strategy, and I came up with GPS. So the growth was to grow the industrial base, grow the workforce, grow our partnerships with industry associations. That P was really predictability, because I wanted to make sure that the folks had accurate forecasts. We were able to generate over 4,000 some odd forecasts in our system for SPs, for the department. And then that partnership, actually synchronization. Synchronization really meant synchronization internal and external. We have over 13 operating divisions within inside of HHS. That includes CDC, FDA, NIH, all the ones that are our prime customers that folks know about. With those organizations, there is a very diverse portfolio that we are trying to ensure we get after. So I'm happy to say this year, as Eric mentioned, we only spent 9.4. One of our goals was in FY23 to spend 10 billion. I thought we could get to 10 billion, and we got 10 billion. So we are 400 and some odd million above where we were at last year. So our goal was 22%. We actually spent over 24.17%, which came up to about 10.05 billion. So I'm happy about that. So, and that's hats off to our industrial base. And I was happy to say is that across all of the socioeconomic categories, they showed improvement. Not where we want to be, but again, service disabled and veteran owned, and hub zone were still 2 of our challenges, but still we saw the growth from almost 200 million in procurements across the board in those 2 categories. So we were close to that 3%. We got 2.17. And then 2.21 for hub zones. So again, those are 2 target areas that we wanted to target. And then our woman-owned companies did a heck of a job this year. They really blew the numbers out of the park because they actually, for the 5% goal, we actually procured 6.6%. Which is 2.7 billion. So that is huge. So woman-owned small businesses are doing a heck of a job in the department.